Dear friends, welcome to Gyan Garden. We all know that if a lie is repeated again and again, it sounds more familiar than truth. So, not only to call the bluff, but also to invited open-minded followers of Baba Saheb, okay, to form a bridge of understanding. I have meticulously, prepared this video and I'm sharing it with you. Good stories are being swept under the carpet, are being hidden from the society, and stray examples of some bad incidents, of some obsolete practices are being deliberately blown out of proportion to poison the minds of the gullible people. Why? It is all because of prejudice. I will talk about it later on. Let us first see how our social media is flooded with venomous remarks against the Brahmins nowadays. Some slogans doing the rounds nowadays are Brahman ko daan, Mandir ko anudan, or Manuwadi ko matdan. Okay, some followers of Baba Saheb, are raising these slogans. Baba Saheb was dead against idol worship. Then how come that the followers of Baba Saheb nowadays are, exchanging pleasantries with those people who are idol worshippers? For example, our very own Nitish Babu. He is a devout Hindu. He observes almost all the rituals of Hinduism, and he visits all the temples. At the same time, he is also, a devout follower of Lord Buddha, and he keeps patronizing almost all the places wherever possible, okay, with the same devotion. So I have, profound regards for him when it comes to, this aspect of his personality. But in the same vein, are the followers of Baba Saheb, reciprocating our gesture? No. They are abusing idol worshippers. But nowadays, they are abusing not all idol worshippers. They are particularly targeting Brahmins. Okay? So, having grown sick of hateful slogans and misinformation and malicious campaign against Brahmins, I am making this attempt. This is a humble attempt to bust the myth against, Sanatan in general and Brahmins in particular, to dispel the doubts of the people and rather invite them to build a bridge of love and understanding based on, eternal truth of Sanatan, based on better understanding of Baba Saheb Ambedkar, broader understanding of Baba Saheb Ambedkar. And, on the one hand, the prejudiced people, those who have prejudice against idolatry are heaping all abuse on Brahmins. On the other, you see that they are hobnobbing also with the idol worshippers, just as I have said. So, what do they want? Andhera kayam rahe. Our great reformers, our saints and sages, in the past and at present now, they have lighted, candles. They have tried to enlighten people, and they have shaped the destiny of modern India by making untold sacrifices. But those lights are being blown out. Some people are bent upon, seeing that andhera कायम rahe. They want to perpetuate darkness. So I have a request to make that they should also, rise above narrow-mindedness, and they should reciprocate our gesture. We keep, visiting the places associated with Lord Buddha, and particularly, almost all the Hindus, they love Lord Buddha, as much as they love other gods and deities. But is the same being reciprocated by them? No. Rather, we are being abused. Rather, we are being ridiculed by, the half-baked followers of Baba Saheb. This is the irony. Now the word Brahmin has become, now the word Brahma has become just like, red rags to the bulls. So we have only two options, either to let this tirade continue, either to let them continue, spouting venoms, or contradict them with our, holistic approach without hurting anybody's sentiment. I know those who are not prejudiced will listen to us, and those who are prejudiced will turn a deaf ear, to what we say. So let us first make it clear to them that Brahmins are those people who seek the ultimate truth, the ultimate reality, and the universal soul is Brahma. The Brahmin word is a derivative of the word Brahma. Those who are constantly in the pursuit of, knowledge, pursuit of eternal wisdom, they are Brahmins. Brahmins should not be confused with those guys, with those people, with those poor creatures who are seen hanging out near temples, who are seen running to you, just for a few coins, with a platter in their, hands, and they are trying to put some tika on your head and give some prasad to you, in the hope that you would give some money to them. No, they are not Brahmins. They are Brahmins, but they deserve sympathy. Just as all scheduled caste people, all scheduled tribe people do not become Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Similarly, those people, those Brahmins born to Brahmin parents, by the quirk of fate, they remain poor sometimes, They do not get any enlightenment, and, somehow they have to make both ends meet. And that is why, they expect a few coins of you, they offer, some prasad to you. They are, not the representatives of Brahmins. So, Brahman ko daan, mandir ko anudan, aur manumadi ko matdan. This is a nonsensical slogan. If your mind is littered with prejudice, you will continue to run down the truth with such slogans. Daan. How can you give you daan to, enlightened souls, enlightened people? How can you give you daan to those people who have sacrificed everything for your sake? So on the contrary, the truth is that Brahmins have made immense contribution to all the walks of life without any self-aggrandizement, without feathering their own nest. For example, some Brahmins who are by-caste Brahmins, and by their deeds also, they have been. For example, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he is regarded as the greatest spiritual scientist all over the world, not just in India. And his disciple Vivekananda, mesmerized the whole world by his explanation of, Vedanta. And the Western philosophers started evincing interest in our country. Okay. So Ramakrishna Paramahansa, it is said about him that if someone, put some coin in his pocket secretly or under his pillow, his hand should bend. Can you give dan to such, such austere personalities, such great personalities? Brahmins are not, looking to you for any dan. Similarly, talking about Maharshi Raman, Maharshi Raman was a reticent person, reticent sannyasi. He would speak little. Most of the time, he would remain, silent. But with his silence, he moved the whole world. And one day, a priest spied on him, priest of a church, because someone had told the priest that Maharshi Raman goes to see God somewhere in the jungle, and he was spied on by the priest. The priest followed him, and what did the priest see? He saw, to his surprise, that Maharshi Raman entered, a hut, and there was a patient in the hut. He was, in a pitiable condition, and he had wounds on his body. Raman nursed his wounds, and, he made some, prepared some food for him and fed him. And in political terms, you can say a downtrodden person and, untouchable person, okay, in those times. So the priest remarked ultimately, today I have seen God. And this Raman was a Brahmin by birth, and you see, Brahmin by his deeds also. And still you guys are deriding Brahmins, heaping abuse on them, without having read scriptures, without having gone through what they have done for your society. Now take the example of Sankaracharya, Jagadguru Sankaracharya. Needless to talk about his, giant spiritual personality. Now Ramanuj, founder of, Visishta Advaitvad. Then Saint Gyaneswar, whose Gyaneswari, still remains a riddle to most of the scholars. Sant Gyaneswar, he was an enlightened person. He was born to Brahmin parents, and he wrote his masterpiece when he was still young. And not only Gyaneswar, his brothers and his sister, they were also, enlightened people. Anyway, you all have heard about Ramanand. Ramanand was the guru of Kabir, and so many examples are there. Now, talking about some personalities in other fields, first of all, Mahamana Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya, founder of, BHU. Yeah. People gave what you call dan, any donation to him, in huge amounts. That was dan, and you see how that dan was used for mankind for the sake of knowledge. Rajaram Mohan Rai is a household name, but for him, Sati Pratha would not have been abolished. Okay, and you are talking that what the Brahmins have done. Yeah, Aryabhatta. Who doesn't know Aryabhatta? After his name, we have launched Aryabhatta, the satellite also in the space. Then Rakesh Sharma, who went into space for the first time. We have heard about Moksgundam Visvesvaraya. He is the first engineer of India, you can say, and his birthday is celebrated as Engineers Day in our country. So Visvesvaraya was a Bharat Ratna awardee also, and he was also a Brahmin. And everybody is, aware of Vinoba Bhave and his Bhudan movement. Then how can you forget Tilak and Gokhale, who had shaped the destiny of our free India? Then Devendranath Tagore goaded, Naren, who later on became Swami Vivekanand, go to Dakshineswar and see Ramakrishna Paramhans for yourself, and there you will get all the answers to your esoteric questions. Then Satyendranath Tagore, the first ICS of India, okay, he was also a Brahmin. Now, some other names also in other fields. Birju Maharaj, well-known personalities in the field of Kathak. And M.B. Kamath, a renowned journalist, okay, of international acclaim. V.S. Naipaul, though he lived in Trinidad, he was of Indian origin and he got Nobel Prize. Then Saurabh Ganguly, Sant Gyaneshwar, I have talked about already, Sant Gyaneshwar. Kailash Satyarthi. Kailash Satyarthi is known for having salvaged, so many child labors in our country, and for that he has been given, Nobel Prize. Then our contemporaries, Sadhguru Jaggi Basdev, in my opinion, is the incarnation of Lord Vivekananda. Sadhguru Jaggi Basdev can, in my opinion, defeat any, any spiritual stalwart, okay, when it comes to a debate. If you go through his inner engineering, you will be mesmerized. Yeah, you will be spellbound. And Pandit and Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji, who doesn't know him? He is also a Brahmin, born to Brahmin parents in Papnasam village. Art of living, has transformed so many lives. Now let me talk about those people who are not born to Brahmin parents, but by their sheer deeds, by their pursuit of truth, by their pursuit of eternal wisdom, they too become, venerated, in our country and abroad also. For example, Sant Raidas. Sant Raidas is said to be a cobbler, okay, by profession, He made a living by mending shoes. And Sant Raidas, he was one of the finest, poet of his time, and he wrote, religious verses, of course, to transform our society, of course, to reform our society, to eradicate some evils. But we all revere him. We all have, profound regards for Sant Raidas. Similar is the story of, Kabir. He was a beaver, but just mention his name, mention the name of Kabir, and we become ecstatic. Kabir is acceptable to all. Kabir is a beautiful blend of intellect and spiritualism. Kabir was not against Sanatan Dharma. This is a myth. It has been deliberately propagated. No, he was, opposed to everything, which makes a religion burdensome. Okay, so he was here on this earth to make people understand what is the essence of religion. Okay, he believed in direct, perception of God. Now, Swami Vivekananda, needless to say about him, because, Vivekananda, but for him, India would still have remained, a country of snake charmers. And then the story of Vidur. Everybody loved him, all the characters of Mahabharata. We have profound respect for Vidur because he never showed any prejudice either towards Kauravas or towards Pandavas. He spoke the truth, and at the same time he was not hurtful. That is why Lord Krishna also loved him. Everybody loved him. And Vidur Niti is still read by us. Now, Sabri, Matang Rishi, they were all Brahmins by virtue of their deeds. Gora, I have said, was a potter, Sauta, a Mali, and so many names are there. It is not pertinent to mention all those names. Now, talking about some, Western scholars, Max Muller, Schopenhauer, Aldous Huxley, then Alfred North Whitehead, Nikola Tesla, then Irving, physicist he was, Bernard Shaw, and Leo Tolstoy. Yeah, they were all adorers of Sanatana, and they all fell in love with Sanatana. If you read, their works, you will come to know of the truth. Einstein, when I read Bhagavad Gita and reflect about how God created this universe, when I read Bhagavad Gita and reflect about how God created this universe, everything else seems so superfluous. Who said? Einstein. And here some guys are, making fun of Sanatan Dharma, making fun of Brahmins. And then Voltaire. Of course, talking about Leo Tolstoy, we have a parallel here in India. I have not talked about him, so it would be a great injustice. You must have heard of, Acharya Sri Ram Sarma. Acharya Sri Ram Sarma belonged to a well-off family. He had, many bighas of land, and during his freedom struggle, for his country, for our sake, he donated most of his, paternal property. And not only that, he founded, Gayatri Mission, and Gayatri Mission is credited to have made many reforms related to, child marriage, related to widow marriage, and they have actually been instrumental in spreading, education for women, and they have eradicated so many evils from our Sanatan Dharma. So here we see that only because of prejudice, only because of preconceived and predetermined opinions, actually people are spouting venom against, someone. They are targeting someone. And we have already seen prejudiced minds have wreaked havoc on truth, and prejudiced minds have committed, heinous crimes. For example, Galileo had to suffer house arrest. What was his fault? For no faults. Just because he opined that, the sun is stationary and the earth moves around the sun. So he subscribed the views of Copernicus, and church considered it a heresy. Why? Because of prejudice, and he had to undergo house arrest. Socrates was poisoned. Socrates was poisoned. Why? Because he antagonized the then dispensation. And Sisupal, you must have heard of Sisupal, because whenever Sisupal saw Lord Krishna, he would abuse him. So deep was his prejudice against Lord Krishna that he would hardly let go any chance to abuse Lord Krishna, and he abused him 99 times. Only at the last, Lord Krishna unleashed his Sudarshan and cut his head. So it is also because of prejudice. It is because of prejudice, it is because of preconceived opinion that Hitler ordered the genocide of Jews. Yeah. And we all know what happened in the concentration camps. So many stories are there, heart-rending stories, horrendous sects of murder, with torture, and innocent, Brahmins in particular, and non-Kashmiris in general, were driven out from Kashmir, were persecuted, and were killed brutally. It is known to all. But because of our prejudice, we are not ready to listen to, such stories. So, when I see people, making derision of Sanatan Dharma and spouting venom against Brahmins, I feel hurt. And that is why I have shared this video with you. Once there was, a debate between atheists and thieves. The story told by Osho. On the one side were atheists and on the other side were thieves. What happened? The debate continued for several days, and at the last, those who were atheists became thieves, and those who were thieves turned into atheists. They were devoid of prejudice. And that is why they could be influenced, by each other. Had there been any prejudice in the mind of Angulimal, Lord Buddha would not have been able to convert him to a normal human being from a robber, from a plunderer. Yeah. And had there been, a politically motivated Angulimal, he would have set up different yardsticks for different people. I will cut the fingers of this particular caste. I will cut the fingers of this particular community. No. He was dispassionate. He was simply ignorant. He was really sleeping. And that is why Lord Buddha could wake him up. But if we are, pretending to be asleep, even Lord Buddha can't do anything. So, dear followers of Baba Saheb, please shed your prejudice and broaden your perspective and make breezes instead of walls. Thank you.